Coming at you nearly live and direct from the Stephen King state of eternal weirdness and frostbite, we proudly bring to you the mystical duo of all things bizarre and macabre, as they will serve as your guides on a magical mystery tour de la Jolla of creepiness. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And it's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said, I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me. Saying, get back together, come back and see me. Anything?
No, I'm surprised you know the words to that song.
Well, it's a classic.
It is a very good song, but it has a gazillion words.
If it's a pickle, it'd be a Vlasic.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I had to. So it's been a really crazy week.
It has been insane.
And in a good way.
Yes.
Like insane in the membrane.
Yeah.
Insane in the brain. Sorry, another song.
We didn't get very much sleep this past week.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Not a lot of sleep. We were actually filming our vlog. And hopefully you guys are watching the vlog and loving the vlog.
Yes, that last one was a doozy.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Holy cow, Stacey edited a full documentary.
Well, you know, I tried not to. I just put in the bits that were important.
Yeah.
And there was just so much. That's why it was so long coming out. But all of that was important.
Everything you just said sounded very sexual to me. But I get what you're saying. It was like a full-on hour-long vlog.
Yeah.
Because we just can't do a vlog.
No, apparently not.
We've attempted to do a vlog, folks, and it's a weekly documentary.
No,
Sorry.
I am bound and determined the next vlog is going to be a vlog. 15 minutes, see what we did in the week, done.
Yeah, but the problem is we can't do anything in 15 minutes.
I know.
This is a good thing.
I guess so.
It's
Well, anyway, go back and watch the vlog. It's amazing, and we catch some really crazy stuff, and the best thing is right near the end.
Yeah.
I didn't plan it that way. That's
Right.
just the way it actually happened.
Yeah, and it's really funny because we had been doing these and trying to be funny. Well, us, not trying, just us. Don't say we're not funny because we are. But
we are kind of funny.
Yeah, we're funny. Haha, funny. And we we did this one and we went out there with the full intentions of, oh, ha ha, hardy har. It's just this crazy legend. We're chasing these legends.
Yeah, we had like a really funny scene planned.
Yeah, which we couldn't do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to play spoiler right now. So go watch episode 6 of the vlog Till Death on the paranormalsideshow.com. Well, on YouTube.
Right. But you can get there from Paranormal Sideshow.
Yeah, you can get everything at paranormalsideshow.com. But go there and watch the latest episode of the vlog, or episode 6, episode 7 may be out in a couple of days. So, it just was very unexpected because we went out there to be funny.
We did,
and it couldn't happen. We couldn't be funny because we were scared to death.
Yeah, and it was crazy.
That is. You put it in a funny way. You were like, after doing this so long, I really enjoy the thrill of being scared. It's like, because we keep having to one up everything we do.
Well, I know, because, we'll go on it used to be when we started, we'd go on paranormal investigations and we'd get really creeped out and we'd get really scared during the investigations. And after a while, you get kind of used to that.
Right.
And it's just not.
Yeah. You even pointed out like the EVP.
Scary anymore. Yeah.
Like originally when we heard, a ghost queef on an EVP, we were like, oh my God.
Yeah. And completely freaked out.
We were like calling everybody and calling, pastors and, priests and stuff. And
burning sage.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't believe what we just heard. It was like, and and they were like, are you sure that's paranormal? And we're like, absolutely, get out of my life, you skeptic ass, and all this stuff. So that went on to full sentences, and then that went on to we started with a full body apparition. I'm just making a point here,
right?
It's like any kind of like X game, like thrill seeking, like it's extreme sports. It really is.
Well, and that's like you said, we went out to do this legend. not expecting it
No.
to be anything like
Like
we were
most of them are.
Yeah,
Nothing.
like an urban legend.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is an urban legend. Isn't this cool? Let's go see.
Yeah, totally not going to go look for the hook man now.
Yeah, no.
You know,
No. And
I'm not going to go make out under the
they're
tree.
like, oh yeah, in Maine there's a bridge with a guy under it. I'm not going to go
No,
look.
no, because he's there. He's there. We figured out one thing. Thank you, Stephen King. Appreciate it, buddy.
Now we know why he writes all those creepy books.
Yeah, because it's real.
Because all that stuff's real.
Because it's all real. It's all here in Maine. If you ever want it to, explore a legend,
Right.
Bring a couple of your friends and find a clown down a drain somewhere.
It's going to happen.
You're in the perfect place for it.
Exactly.
And, speaking of that, we went to go see it. Mm-hmm. That will be on episode 7 of the vlog.
Yes.
But have to say, of course, we'll keep it spoiler free.
Right.
For a big fan of Stephen King over here across from me, the cool thing was we went to go see it in, Maine.
Yes.
Not Derry, Maine, because there's no such place, but it is based on actual places.
Close enough.
And every town up here looks the same. Like, oh, hey, tourist trap, axe murderer.
Quaint little Maine town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of B&Bs and freaking oceanside villas. I mean, it's beautiful and
It is.
scary.
Yes.
And terrifying. So, anything you see in those or read in those books, yeah, it's real. It's all real. Everything he writes in there is based on actual places.
Yeah, he gets inspired by everything around him.
Well, everything from a truck stop, which I have actually went to, I mean, these are places I visit daily, and it's really weird because I'm not the fan you are.
Right.
I'm a fan of Stephen King, but I'm not a fan of reading.
Right.
So unless it's something super fantasy, which I know you've been trying. Stacey's been trying to win me over, guys. So I'm sure a lot of you are Stephen King fans and will say that, there's a lot of fantasy in there because it's all revolves around the Dark Tower or whatever. Anyway, that's about got me into it. Because you give me some Lord of the Rings, you give me some...
See, what I need to do is I just need to get you some of the audiobooks to listen to while you're driving for work. Because you're in the car.
Yeah, but it has to be a British guy. I can't listen to some American guy trying to read a book. It really bothers me because they just sound so pretentious.
Wow, okay.
I'm sorry.
And the British guys don't.
They're supposed to be pretentious. They're British.
I see.
I can live under that rule. Mm-hmm. You and I both direct descents,
Right.
from fish and chip land. So I can totally deal with that. And I'm calm. It's like some old British dude. I'm completely calm. Or Morgan Freeman. That's the only American I would let read to me.
Okay, so I need to find Stephen King audiobooks narrated by some old British guy or Morgan Freeman.
Or a combination, which would be awesome. Like an old British man and
That sounds like Morgan Freeman.
Or a Morgan Freeman impersonator.
That's British.
That's British.
That is a very specific set of skills.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But I know that if anyone can find it, you can. And that's what I have to have. I just can't take those American guys, man. It's just like, and then Tom went into the room and Tom was very scared. I don't know. It's just like, okay, this sucks. This is terrible. But I can put it on there. Like I just listened to the George R. R. Martin, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And it's amazing. It's done by the guy. It's narrated by the bloke in the TV series that played Daenerys' brother.
Right. He does a great job.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He does Dunk and Egg is the story. And it's amazing. Like you're instantly like a little kid sitting at your grandparents' knee listening to this story and you're so comforted and you don't want to leave that story being read to you. That is magic. That's what I'm talking about. Those audiobooks can be amazing. They really can, but it has to be the right person. You can't get some guy who's living in LA trying to pay the rent, and it's like, yeah, I'll take this job. That's fine. I got an animation job I'm doing in 2 hours. You just can't have that guy.
Right.
You can't replace Robin Williams as the genie.
Right.
You can't have some American out of work actor reading a book.
Reading books.
I'm sorry.
I got you.
Not a fantasy book anyway.
Okay.
But, if you did, you would find it at Paranormal ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go find out everything British Morgan Freeman. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. All kinds of Morgan Freeman's there. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. Morgan Freeman has known to appear. Instagram, Hot Morgan Freeman Dam. It's John and Stacey Edwards. And on YouTube, it's youtube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That's where you'll find the greatest vlog of all paranormal Tomsky. You got to go there and check it out, kids, because it is fun. And Stacey doesn't sleep anymore because she just edits podcasts and vlogs. It's all she does. So yeah, it's called Till Death. We love doing it. And if you listen to the podcast, you're listening now. So obviously you do listen, or you're being forced to. Once you escape that madman's house, remember where you listened. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere you like to listen. That's where we like to hide out. So, come find us there. And I do want to mention a few things here. I know that I get requests sometimes through the week. And this time, my boy Cody down in Bristol, not Bristol, Maine, not Bristol, England, but Bristol, Tennessee. He had a special request on an update of the cat story.
Yes.
Of the
cat
missing
story.
cats.
I'd say that one was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the missing cats from in the village. I believe that was the last episode of the podcast. So oddly enough, Foo and Mr. Wiggleston have not been found.
Oh, okay.
But we do have an update of sorts.
Okay.
And my favorite paranormal author,
Nick Redfern. I knew who that was right away.
Also British voice. Nick Redfern actually put out on his blog. He does a lot of Mysterious Universe articles.
I wonder if he narrates his own audiobooks.
Oh my God.
Because that would be awesome.
Oh my God. Don't even get me. Don't even get me going. So he does Mysterious Universe articles, and he has a very interesting blog up, because he's seen the story as well. Right. And it was on Coast to Coast, I think the story was. So everybody's seen the story. But on the missing cats, and he put up a blog because it reminded him of a story that because he lives near Dallas. Right. And there was a lot of missing cats through like 2008, 2009. People were talking about it, even like 2010 and a lot of paranormal conferences he was at. Oh. So there was a large number of missing kitties. And, so people were thinking it was like kids. Right. And then some angry old man. You go through the usual suspects. Right. The kid wearing a Metallica shirt walking through the neighborhood. Right. The angry old man that won't let you on his lawn. They had all these people under lights. When I'm reading the article, right, that's all I'm picturing is like they have all these people in a room. You got the little scruffy kid with the toboggan on. He's like, I didn't do it, but I love Satan. And then you got the old man like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Get off my damn lawn, you kids. Quit beating off in my shack. And then, it finally, they made it to the fact where it always goes. Where do you think it went? Like, it always goes here. They did go through the Satanist. Yes, did they? They did. But it went to the place that it always goes. Where is that? A Scottish Rites.
Is that the place it always goes?
The Freemasons.
Yes, I know. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, it always goes. Everything goes back to the Masons.
See, I was going to guess, like Chinese restaurant or something. Wow. I don't know. That's the joke, isn't it?
We here at Paranormal Sideshow do not entirely agree with the views of Stacey Edwards.
That's not my view. I'm saying you asked where it always goes to. I thought maybe other people had said that.
Maybe down in some terrible place in We Hate You, Alabama, but not in, civilized communities do we talk about the Chinese restaurant taking all the cats.
I don't think that's the way it works.
Everybody knows it's the Vietnamese restaurant. Sorry. No, it goes to the Masons, the Freemasons, because they're the busiest guys in the world.
Of course.
They control the world, they control thought, they control purpose, and they kill cats.
Plus they hold high-level executive jobs.
Undoubtedly, to take the joke out of it, there is a Scottish Rites ceremony that's where you use the heart of a cat. Oh. It's not going to happen. No. It's not happening. No. If it is... why?
Yeah. I agree. It's weird that they had that.
God meow.
It's weird that they had that rush of missing cats, though. And then it just stopped.
Well, yeah, it is in the Village. The ones in Dallas still come and go, he says.
That's crazy.
But here's the thing. The reason I mentioned Nick Redfern is, and I've talked about this on Haunted South, on Third Side. I like talking to people that actually know something. And, you know, like pretty much you can bring up anything in the paranormal field and they have like real stories.
Yeah, like real examples.
Yeah, not just their opinion.
Right.
Like, here's all my examples. And that's how he writes his books. It's example after example after example. It's not 400 pages of Nick's opinion.
That's true.
It's 400 pages of actual examples that he's taken from real stories, dates, times, all that stuff. That's why I love it. So you can find Nick's books now, you know, like anywhere, bookstores you go to, Barnes and Noble, you can, you know, go on Amazon and find them. I can't recommend them enough. If you aren't reading Nick Redfern, you know, and you're into paranormal, then shame on you.
Right.
But, you know, he does give away a lot of free because he writes blogs continuously.
Yes.
He just can't stop putting out books and blogs. I picture him like he has a gun to his head by some paranormal obsessed person. And they're just like, almost done there, Nick. Yeah, almost got it. Can you say something with your British accent? And it's not me. It's not me doing it. I swear to God. But on another, that was our update there.
That was our update.
On another update, this is friend of the show, Tom.
Ooh, friend of the show.
I'm a friend of the show, and all I got was this crummy T-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah. So Mr. Alan Marston, who started with us in the Haunted South days, and we investigated Appomattox Courthouse with Mr. Marston once upon a forever
He's been
ago.
on the sideshow.
He's been on the sideshow several times, and we took him down a rabbit hole once upon a time, and that rabbit hole possessed his entire life.
Yes.
So he honestly took it and ran with it, and he started doing some lectures here and there on the subject of the Mandela effect and on some personal experiences with shadow people. So, you know, he got out there and did something. He got out there and started, you know, speaking about it. And he's also been in various paranormal organizations. You know, it does my heart good. It's like proud papa.
Right.
You know, it really means a lot to me to see his success and to see him spreading the gospel, because I know that he's trained right.
Spreading the gospel.
Yeah. You know, Alan's a great guy, and he just really gets passionate about what he believes in, just like we do. And he's putting that out there for people to hear. So very exciting for me, because my favorite paranormal conference so far it has definitely been Scarefest
Right.
in Kentucky. And, you know, if you are anywhere near Lexington, Kentucky on September 29th to October 1st,
Yes.
you need to go out of your way and to go there. Not only because the Mystery Science Theater 3000 people are there, the original cast, and if anybody's there, hint, hint, Alan Marston, and could get me an autograph from Joel, and could get Stacey an autograph from
The woman that played Pearl.
yes, who's
remember her real name.
who's also going to be there. It's Joel and Pearl. Anyway, Alan's going to be on the 29th. He's going to be speaking that night about the Mandela effect. The next day in the afternoon, I believe, well, morning, 11 a.m., he's going to be speaking on the shadow people. And there's going to be a lot of great, awesome people there. You know, you've got all your Amy Brunies and
It's like paranormal and horror. So there's a lot of horror actors.
even my Ghost Brothers
there.
boys.
Yep. And there's a lot of paranormal guests there too.
So Ghost Brothers, who had the sexiest guest star of all time.
That's right.
On the last season. They're going to be there as well. So you can go ask them and just go up to them and go, hey, you know that Newport, Tennessee episode? That was the coolest episode of TV I've ever seen. And you had
love that guest investigator.
Yeah, you had that really hot investigator with the bald head, but he wasn't bald just to be cool. It was like it was like a statement. And he had that cool goatee. Yeah, that guy. He seemed knowledgeable. But they'll remember me. I guarantee it.
I'm sure.
You know, all that. Just go see Alan Marston. Congratulations, Alan. And
Yes.
my last little shout-a-ma-doo.
Okay.
I have to say this. I want to dedicate this episode, dedicate the entire episode. So I am sorry, Jimmy Peterson, that I am dedicating this episode, because it's already started out to be a travesty. So you know,
I don't think it's that bad.
if I could go back, I would dedicate like a better episode for you. But no, you know, we get a lot of letters. We get a lot of interaction. We get people ask us questions, and we love it. We always try to get back with everybody, right?
Yes.
Got a letter from a guy that meant a lot to me, and that's why I'm giving you a shout out, whether you like it or not, Mr. Peterson. You have just been immortalized. You are definitely. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate the listens.
Yes.
And hope you enjoy the rest of the show. And with that said, I think it's about time for some paranormal news.
Okay, let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, so this first story is an update.
Dum, dum, dum.
So this is the update about the mystery object that was off of East Beach in Westerly, Rhode Island.
Okay.
That they were going to try and
the
remove.
big giant building.
But then they couldn't remove it because of the waves. The surf was too rough.
I thought their winch wasn't big enough.
No, I'm pretty sure they had a big enough winch, but that's not who removed it. Like they hired somebody else.
Tommy's Tree Service or whatever they had to start.
Rocky's Tree Service.
Rocky's,
No,
Tommy,
they had
it's
somebody else come out and do it. I'm not sure that whole process, but I just know that.
All I remember from that story ever, like if you ask me in 10 years, it's going to be, we're going to need a bigger winch.
So a bunch of people, it said a crowd of like 100 people gathered on the beach. And an excavator went into the sea to remove the object that was embedded there.
I'm kind of upset that it was only 100 people.
Well, you know,
I mean, there should be about 100 people on the beach.
Rhode Island.
Anyway.
It's a very small state.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway. So the excavator went in and it was extracting
the what went in?
The excavator.
Excavator. Okay.
Isn't that what I just said?
I think you said something like that. Yeah.
It was close.
At least you didn't say evacuator.
I said it fast enough so that you weren't supposed to tell that I messed it up.
Okay.
That's the way that works.
All right.
So there's a news story and I will link to it and you watch it and you can see all the people standing around. There's one kid standing there. He's my favorite. He has a sign that says, "I love aliens."
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
We love you, kid.
So they pulled it out and it broke when they started pulling it out.
Oh, bastards.
So it came out in pieces and
we sent you that's knowledge.
They put it on the beach. And
please do not break it.
they kind of tried to piece it back together. But once they got it out,
They got duct tape on
it's still a mystery because they still don't really know what it is.
Can you imagine the scientist in charge of it? He sent out like his little underlings out there, his temps and stuff. You know, whatever you do, don't break the object. It's like, sir, it's fine. It's completely fine. Oddly enough, when we pulled it out, it had this duct tape all over it.
Well, it was pulled out by a place called Sacco Enterprises of Charlestown.
Oh.
And they did some research on it before they pulled it out to make sure they weren't going to,
Obviously,
or whatever.
obviously they did a lot of research. Way to go, Sacco.
But once they pulled it out, they kind of pieced it back together. And the guy on the news was like, I'm pretty sure this is an NOAA buoy, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
NOAA Weather Radio.
Yes. And he said that it was like a base for one of their buoys or something like that. So that was his theory. But then he goes on to say, but it's a little bit bigger than what it should be. And it's got this weird piece on the bottom. So we don't really know what it is.
That's
so
funny.
Yeah. So it's strange.
And as always, it reminds me of a story. Mm-hmm. So the most trouble I ever got into as a kid.
Right.
It's a toss up between taking my mom's fingernail polish and going full on street art in my room.
Right.
And
I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah. And my dad had this little weather radio. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I guess they thought maybe I wanted to be a meteorologist someday because I wanted to be an astronaut. So why not a meteorologist? Seems like a possible step. So I would always take his little blue weather radio. Mm-hmm. Do you know why I took that?
I have no idea.
Because it was a sword. And I would take it and it had this, it was a little blue and I would act like it was a lightsaber and I would pull up the metal antenna.
Right.
and I would sit in my room and I would,
Pretend like it was a lightsaber.
yeah, pretend like it was a lightsaber. And so I was always doing that. So I broke it because it wasn't a lightsaber.
Right.
I found out. And that was all funny. I wonder if they know I really didn't like the weather that much, even to this day.
Probably not.
I mean, you got to think you've got a really good or a geeky kid.
Your parents always listen to weather. Like, that's their thing.
Oh, dude, that is the daily conversation.
I'm surprised there's not a weather radio in every room of the house.
I was so terrified of the end of the world storms. Like, I mean, seriously, man, I remember we would pack up. My mom would pack us up and take us over to my grandparents who had like the bigger house.
Right.
And we would like be sitting there and I mean for hours and hours and hours every time there was a storm. And that was like my childhood. It'd be like you would hear it. And I remember there was a possibility of,
right.
thunderstorms. It's like, oh God, it's the end of days.
I guess some people are just scared of storms.
Yeah. You got to think about it. Look at my history of my family.
That's true. You do have a lot of people in your family get struck by lightning.
Yeah.
We did go over that. That's a legitimate thing to be afraid of.
When you're in my family and there's a black cloud, you do not stand outside. It's just something you don't do, man. It's but the whole thing about the object, we're never going to hear about it again.
No, obviously not. And I'm not even sure. It's actually being stored in an undisclosed location. Like they didn't even say what they did with it.
What?
Yeah, isn't that really strange? Yeah, and they talk about that they were going to like dig underneath it and try to pull it out in one piece, but some of the pieces were buried under about 7 feet of sand. That's why they had to kind of pull it out and it broke because it was really in there. And that's it. We're never going to hear about it again because they don't know anything about it. Like they have no idea what it is.
That's insanity.
And now nobody knows where it's located.
Or where those 100 people are.
Well, no, I'm sure the 100 people, they were all local.
There's going to be a story in 2 weeks. Mysterious vanishing of 100 Rhode Island residents. And one kid wearing an alien shirt.
All right. Well, let's go on to this next story. So this next story is really cool. This is about the fast radio bursts.
Ah, yes.
Now, we talked about this months ago.
Yeah.
When, it was like all in the news because they discovered all these crazy
FRBs. Time.
So now they've found some new ones. So they've...
Funny how that works.
Yeah. They put this new story out, and what it is it's this group that they had previously found back in 2012, and they were studying that area again, but they found 15 new bursts in this same location.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
And, they are definitely trying to keep studying it, but they still, even after catching these new ones, they still have no idea what these are. Like the theories range from, black matter to aliens or whatever.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, well, here's the crazy thing is we had never had these before.
Right.
And
yeah, it's only been a few years that they've even been talking about these.
Just like everything that we talk about. Okay, let's look at the last week or so. All right. We try to stay positive on here. So we try not to mention, category 4 hurricanes.
Right.
2 in 1 year. Pretty much unprecedented. Right. Might be a third coming with Jorge Gargamel or whatever the name of the next one is. And,
who knows?
The wildfires out west that are very terrible and dangerous and huge. And seems like that happens every year, but this year's a little bit worse than normal.
Well, what about the earthquakes?
The gigantic earthquake in Mexico, and Yellowstone is actually on a super volcano or alert. That's
been happening more.
Yeah, they've had all kinds of tiny earthquakes going on, and the biggest thing for me has been the CMEs. Our sun has been really dormant for a while. That had me worried. We were on solar minimum,
right?
And I don't know if any of you out there follow any of the sun or type stuff. If you don't and you want to, I suggest that you go to a YouTube channel called Suspicious Observers.
Yes,
and
he is very thorough, and he explains it really well.
He's amazing. He's amazing. Suspicious Observers every day has a daily update. You'll get addicted because every morning about 6 a.m. you're going to get a 10-minute video, and you will get addicted. I warn you.
It's really fascinating.
But it's one of the things I watch And if you are into space weather, you know, there's the spaceweather.org, I believe is his website, and you can go there and there's instructional videos that take you hours to go through courses to learn more about what these coronal mass ejections actually mean to our atmosphere and what like the kill shot could be for us. And by kill shot, it's not going to engulf our planet in flames.
Right.
It's going to knock down all our satellites.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing about that is we've had these kill shot directly facing CMEs from gigantic sunspots that have ejected like an X10 or an X20. And that's like, your magnitude. Okay. So we've had these in the past. They've happened. They've happened back in historical times when we didn't have any electricity.
Right.
When we were wiping our butts with our hands and it didn't matter. At most it was like the Northern Lights could be seen in Africa.
Right.
Whatever. But, it wasn't as bad as it would be now.
Right.
Now,
because we really rely on all the technology.
Now we're lucky to be able to find water beside a lake, okay? Because our head is stuck on an iPhone. And, so what happens when that goes down? Well, riots and, call me crazy, but there may be some people loot. I'm just guessing.
Maybe.
So, it's every time something happens, the first thought of our civilized people is to go loot.
Yeah.
So
what can I go get for free?
But the problem with that is there would be death. There would be a lot of deaths. There would be people on life support. Whereas, 200 years ago, we just let them die. Now there's people on life support. There's people that, have medical needs that must be addressed.
Yeah.
They do have generators, obviously, in hospitals and stuff, but that's what my fear is the people that, are shut-ins and can't get out and wouldn't be able to forage for food. And
right.
Cause I would be straight up Hunger Games. I'm going to be out there killing a moose and dragging it home. We're not going to be without.
Right.
I take care of my kids, but, what happened in the past week is interesting, boys and girls. So, in the past week, and you can go there and check this out or just Google it. You'll find all kinds of information. There was a gigantic coronal mass ejection about a week ago. I apologize, I don't have the exact date, but it was, I believe it maybe at the very end of August, very 1st of September, possibly. But there was a coronal mass ejection, and it was large. It was huge. And so that caused like the Northern Lights to flare up. And then there was another one. And then there was one about 3 days ago that was not Earth facing.
Thank goodness.
But most of your NASA models, not that NASA covers things up, but, never a straight answer, NASA, is, saying it was like an X10 or whatever. And realistically, when you watch that go off, it went toward Mars. But when you watched that go off, it lit up the whole entire Soho satellite. Everything got lit up.
Right. And it wasn't even facing us.
No, it wasn't even facing us. You could see the radiation coming. It could have been an X20. It could have been an X40. That would have been what they called like the planet killer. That would have been a kill shot. And we get them. So not to fearmonger or give people all this stuff, it's not going to end that way. But it could cause some because it causes disruptions now. Yeah,
like maybe your cell phone service doesn't work good for a day or, or your internet's weird or something.
Right. At worst, it's a mild inconvenience. And that's what I look at that site. I was really into it for a while. And, I was like, this is going to cause like a minor skin irritation. You know what I mean? It's not like I've got to worry about this thing chewing my leg off. There's worse things to worry about.
Right.
And I try not to find things that I just worry about constantly anyway, because I can fall in that rabbit hole. But this, when you look at this, these CMEs, I'm like, God almighty, with everything else going on. And the coolest thing about it is not to spend an exorbitant amount of time on this, but I think it's an interesting thing for people to go learn because his theory really has some validity to it. And his big theory, and the whole reason he does this, is it seems that the CMEs and the sunspots are directly correlated to earthquakes.
Oh.
And so we got this big CME and
Right.
we got this humongous earthquake.
That's very true.
And not just earthquakes, hurricanes, everything, because every planet is, gravitationally aligned with the sun.
right.
And
right.
so this stuff that happens on the sun causes things on
That is a very good theory.
so he developed an app about a year ago, and it was crowdfunded. Okay.
Right.
And it was a disaster preparedness app
Right.
due to space weather. So you get these alerts that this area may be apt to have an earthquake.
Right.
Okay. And it would be in red, like this earthquake alert for here because of the way the sun is.
Right. Because of the coronal mass ejections
So I don't
or whatever.
know the exact numbers, but let's just say there's been 100 of those alerts.
Right.
About 70 of them have been accurate.
Wow. That's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah. And like I said, that is, I think it's actually higher.
Right.
I think it's maybe 8 out of 10
right.
are actually accurate. Like it goes off and then there's,
So that's a pretty valid theory.
yeah, because we don't have any earthquake detection. We don't have a hurricane. You could see it coming.
Right.
Like guys, 4 days from now, there's going to be a hurricane and there's still Surfer Joe out there going, I'm going to ride it out, and then the next time you hear on the news, Surfer Joe has been found dead. I mean, you're going to have those people, but,
Right.
but for those of you like me that would like to stay alive, it's a cool little thing to check out. And all that hopefully was a little bit of information. I played Stacey for a second and I didn't even have a news sheet in front of me.
I know you did so good.
Just because I'm like addicted to everything.
Because you really do like weather.
Yeah, I love weather. I absolutely love
You
weather.
just said that you didn't really like weather when you were a kid, but you really do.
No, I don't like standing in lightning storms. There's a difference. I
guess
love thunderstorms. Absolutely, it's my favorite kind of weather.
Right.
My favorite weather is October
Yes.
in a overcast mid 60s
Fall kind of way, right?
fall kind of way. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of a little bit apprehensive of lightning. Like I said, I think it's God has been trying to remedy a mistake he made
It's just trying to wipe out your line.
for generations. So,
Okay, so let's move on to the
Let's.
next story. And this one is a really cool story. It is about the letter that was written by the quote unquote possessed nun
I love
that
possessed
has
nuns.
been translated. So this is a letter that was written in code by a nun in the 17th century that was supposedly possessed by the devil.
1600s were a great time for possessing.
The devil was really active.
Yeah, very active.
I mean, that was like his golden time, wasn't it?
I'm forever seeing stories earlier when she mentioned this because we don't. I by rule I don't let Stacey tell me the news stories.
Right. You like to be surprised.
Yeah, I like to be surprised and give a real reaction. But she happened. I showed her one. I was like, "Hey, look at this 17th century nun or something like that." And no, she showed it to me, and it was a different story. It was a different letter. It was an older news story.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Isn't that the same one that's going around the web right now?" And she's like, "No, it's a different one." It's
No,
just
it's
like
different.
It's really crazy all the stuff from the 1600s.
Well, this was a letter written by, and I'm going to try this lady's name. Oh my goodness. Sister Maria Crocifissa della Concezione.
I feel like you just conjured something in the room.
Yeah, like that just sounded terrible.
That was like a Mixoplex trick.
So she believed that she'd been taken over by the devil who was using her hand to write with. And this was in 1676.
That was the devil that was using my hand, sir. Sorry.
And the letter was found.
devil use your hand again.
Oh my goodness. This is a story about a nun, young man.
Sorry.
Calm down.
We all
Okay.
have dreams.
So the letter was found at a convent in Sicily where the nun had lived since she was 15.
Right.
And she claimed that she woke up one day and she found the letter, but she had no recollection of who wrote it.
No recollection.
Recollection.
Yeah.
Yes, of who wrote it. But she believed that she had been possessed and that the devil had written it because it was written in code. It uses like Latin and ancient Greek or they tried to use all that to decode it.
So they've been trying to decode it since then?
Well, I don't think since 1676, since they found it. It doesn't say when they found it, but yes, they've been working on it for quite some time. And they came up with some decipherable phrases. I don't think they've decoded every single word, but it did say some pretty damning things for the time. It said things like the system works for no one and that humans invented God and that God thinks he can free mortals. But that it was all kind of just a joke, that sort of thing.
I've got a question. If humans invented God, how did the devil possess her?
I don't know. I'm saying this is what the letter
No,
said.
yeah, I got you.
Like I'm not here to explain what she wrote. These are just little
if there's no
phrases.
God, there's no devil.
Supposedly.
I mean, they don't have, if there's no Batman, there's no Joker.
Right. That doesn't mean there isn't still evil things in the world.
Yeah. She doesn't have to point out the devil, though.
No, this is true. This is true.
Could have been Sam the wandering demon.
So in the letter, she described God and Jesus as dead weights, which was, heresy at her time.
Wow.
For being a nun, stuff like that. So who knows? She didn't remember doing it, supposedly. They don't really know why she would write something like that or why it would,
Well, let's look at it like this. So when you take the vows and you become a nun, you give away every chance of family. You give your life to God, and it's a big step being that way, being a priest.
She was young. She was only 15.
Maybe she was forced in a convent. I don't know, but
I don't know. I mean, back in 1676, 15 is getting on in years, True. So she was a middle-aged woman, and but when you take that vow, especially then, before you porn or anything, it was very much, I don't know, the vows meant more, I guess I'm trying to say. Right.
And I'm not taking anything away from modern day nuns. I'm sure their vows mean quite a bit, but it was death by, heresy was death.
Yes.
Is what I'm coming to.
It was criminal.
So anything you would write like that, I mean, you couldn't even say it.
No, absolutely.
And I would dare think they didn't think it.
Right.
Because of fear, especially Catholics, which every corner, I can only imagine walking around a nunnery and see some kind of convent somewhere and seeing, all these statues of.
I think we should call them nunneries. I like that better.
I was seeing all these statues. I mean, you're living in fear all the time, but
right.
Catholics, we do religion right.
I suppose that's why it was written in code.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You would think if the devil was trying to get a message across that he wouldn't write it in code, that it would just be.
I would like to think he would. I would like to think.
Just to make it hard.
Yeah. I would like to think that, maybe his plan was they're not going to figure this out till 2017.
He's just going to frustrate them to death. Is that the devil's plan?
Yeah. He's like, let's really mess with these guys,
Oh, that's funny. Well, one of the guys that worked on the translation suggested that maybe she had a problem like schizophrenia or something like that. Like, I think that even today people try to lump that with possession, schizophrenia. They try to say that's the same kind of thing.
I'm like we talked about mental illness before, and I'm not so sure that I think there's different parts of our brains that we are not completely in tune with and we don't understand completely. Because a lot of times those people that suffer from a particular mental illness have amazing skills. They come up with amazing things and amazing ideas, and basically every songwriter I've ever been friends with, including myself, is a little bit crazy, and I do believe that that's possible, that she could have had a mental illness and she's so indoctrinated,
right,
that that's her world.
Well, I'd say mental illness is not really understood either.
Yeah. Oh,
in 1676. I mean, to them, that would seem like.
Sister, mental illness wasn't understood in 1960.
True. So that would seem like a possession kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that's what they would say.
I mean, regardless, take it for what it is.
Yeah. Well, I did read this story recently too. I didn't bring it to the show, but the director that directed The Exorcist is actually doing a documentary, and it was actually just shown at the Venice Film Festival, one of the film festivals.
Right.
And it's actually a documentary on exorcism, where he actually got to film a real exorcism.
And they're going to show
this
that?
priest. They've already shown it.
Okay.
With this priest. And I believe that the priest, forgive me because I don't actually have the story. I just read it a couple days ago, but the priest is really famous. He wrote books and things like that. And the director was really interested in it. And I believe that he's actually passed away since they made this. But he did get to film an exorcism, and he did get to uncover all these things that he had been interested in since he made that movie so long ago. And so that seemed really interesting. I mean, I kind of want to check that out when it's available.
Absolutely. I mean, I read for a number of years, I read every book I could find with some of which were by priest, still own some of them, that were accounts of exorcisms. And I wanted to be a demonologist, I thought, until I was educated enough in the paranormal to realize I didn't want any part of that.
Yes.
If I come in contact with one, what we believe to be demonic, we will seek assistance, and we will try to step away from that particular investigation, just because of my susceptible nature to being, I don't know how to put it, influenced by the dark. And so you got to really know your limitations on stuff. You know, we chase Casper all day, but and demonic attack is rare.
It is.
It's a lot more rare than you may believe.
You would think, yes.
So that's very interesting. I mean, that's
interesting.
That itself, that it's got finally getting decoded. That's weird to me. That kind of stuff bothers me. That's because that's the start of a movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the start of a movie. They pull off the old scroll, and they're like, "We've never been able to decode this." And then you know, like, whoever comes in there and you know is like all of a sudden able to decode it. And
I saw this story recently too about someone claiming that they had figured out what the Voynich manuscript was about, and that it was a manual for highborn ladies on like personal hygiene care and things like that, with
the weird animals and stuff.
like it was such a weird story. I was just like, I didn't buy it. I was just like, I don't know about that.
The next time you do, use a Jaguar kangaroo mix. That's the best hybrid to use because of the pockets.
It was a strange
and the
story.
growls.
I was like, okay, we're just gonna not get that one. So
yeah.
All right, well, let's move on.
People feel like they have to explain everything, don't they?
They do. Why can't you just leave it a mystery?
I don't know. I would much rather have the mystery. I mean, it's just like looking at a girl. For me, lingerie, buddy. I mean, or clothes. You know, just starting out naked, it just doesn't work.
Well, you like to use your imagination.
I do, but you know, it's just leave it a mystery. It's a lot more fun when you figure it out yourself.
There you go. All right, so this is a story about some footprints that were found on Crete that pushed back the date humans began to walk upright.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Are you kidding me? Okay, listen.
Right.
Earlier tonight, and I blamed Alan Marston for this. Me and Alan, we talked on the phone before we did the podcast.
Right.
And I said, Marston, you're going to cause my episode to be crazy. So one of the things we talked about was he was talking about how he's much more metaphysical now, and he actually left a group because of, you know, I was talking to him about, you got to stop it.
Right.
You got to stop trying to explain everything. You got to stop being so freaking scientific method on everything, because the scientists themselves don't know shit.
Right.
And, you know, every week on the show, it's always, and he agreed. And for years, he's been really coming into his own. And I mean, he's got abilities, and that third eye is wide freaking open. And so one of the things we talked about was, I was like, how many episodes do we have that pushes back the date humanity was here or something? And he goes, recently, once a month.
Not just that, it's a lot of different things. It's not just the humanity going back, but it's the discovery of what they could do, and you know, the dinosaurs that they thought were this or this. And I mean, it's always something. It's
changing.
It's always
so
something.
fast, and it's here recently that it's been changing as much. But continue on with your story. It's just crazy. We always have one of these stories.
Well, this was a study that was published in the latest edition of Proceedings of the Geologists Association. And they just have such creative names.
Sign me up.
So it's a human-like footprint that was found stamped into an ancient seashore fossilized beneath the Mediterranean island of Crete. And what happened was the this guy named Gerard Gierlinski actually found these when he was holidaying. That's the word in here. Is that a word?
It's a word.
Holidaying.
They don't have vacations over there.
No, they holiday.
They have holidays. I like it. It makes me happy.
Well, he was on the island of Crete in 2002, and he has been studying these footprints since he found them. I mean, over a decade, he's been studying this print to try and figure out, to make sure that it was human, to make sure it couldn't be something else.
Seems like an extreme amount of time to figure out that was human.
Well, he's a paleontologist. Maybe he's just very thorough. I don't know.
There's not a whole lot of things that look like a human foot.
Right. Well, it says that, the human foot has a unique shape. There's a big toe, it's kind of long, things like that. And this is very much like a human footprint. But some people are saying, well, it could be an ape.
A Greek chicken?
No, an ape.
The Greek chickens have human feet. So they think it could be an ape.
He's saying that, the print is looks like a human that is walking upright, but the rock's age is like 5.7 million years old, which is
my God,
an extra couple million more than what they thought.
Right.
And they're saying it's more likely that this is from some link that we don't know about yet. It's not human, it's not ape, but it's part of some species that we've never discovered. Instead of
the missing link.
Yeah. Basically they're trying to say, instead of humans walking upright, it's more likely that this is something we haven't discovered yet.
So it couldn't be the missing link because of the age.
Right.
They've been trying to figure out the link between apes and humans. And, so this is like the predated link. I don't
Something
know.
like that. It's weird.
They're sure it's humans now.
Well, he's pretty sure. Like I said, there are people that are arguing it, saying that there's no way that it could be a human that's walking upright. And they're arguing that there was another previously unidentified human-like creature that walked around that made the footprints. Because that's just more likely than it was just a human walking upright.
Look, I've lived in certain parts of the world where I don't consider them the same kind of human I am, but they're still human.
Right.
I can think of a couple of towns in Kentucky I lived where I would just call them human-like. And, but it's if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's more than likely a duck.
This says the print
has
a big toe, very similar to ours in size. And it has the distinct ball on its sole, and it's a human-like sole. There's no claws. And how you can tell with a footprint, where the pressure goes and stuff like that. So that's why it took him. Weighed? I didn't say, but that's why he took so long to study it, because he wanted to be sure and rule out every other thing he could possibly rule out.
That's the difference in me and that guy. Okay, so JJ or whatever his name was. The difference in me and him is if I find that, I'm going to show it to the world tomorrow and say, look, I found a human footprint. A crazy thing, it's 2 million years old. Because you know what's going to happen? People are going to debate me.
Right.
People are going to say, and they're doing it with him. He has 15 years of research.
Right.
He has 15 years of research.
And they're still debating him.
And they're still debating him. That's my point.
I see. So you're like, let's just get this over with.
Why not? They're going to say something about it anyway.
Well, it's just because it contradicts what we thought before.
Here recently, I've seen a couple of stories floating around on the internet, and they infuriate me. Okay, I may not like the people they're talking about anyway,
right?
But it has to do with paranormal investigating,
right?
And on TV. Okay. All right, so I've done it, and been on TV, paranormal investigating. And exactly what I did and found is what was there, and they actually left evidence out.
Yeah.
That was really good and compelling. But it was angry at me, and it was vile, and they didn't think they should put that in there.
Right.
So they just put like the disembodied voice and all that. But the point was they didn't make it up, and there wasn't somebody on the side with like aluminum making noise, right?
I picture like the old school movies where they're doing like the sound effects with the little coconuts and stuff.
And that's what people, and like, so Joey part-time goes out here and makes a website so he can put an article up going, I don't know, Ghost Lovers is fake, or whatever.
Right.
And they just throw
when they don't really know.
Which they don't know. And they put it up there and they're like, this is the reason because, this guy made a mistake here. Well, you know what? You do. You make mistakes, but you're going to be judged regardless. And that's what kills me is all these keyboard warriors want to say stuff and they don't. And I didn't say stuff about shows before I ever did one.
Right.
Because I didn't know.
Right. Well, that's the ironic thing about it is these people are saying, are trying to claim that that the TV shows are making stuff up, and that they are making up their proof, but they don't have proof that that's happening. But people are supposed to believe them, even though they don't have proof about the shows that, I don't know. It's very weird.
Right. And here's the thing. I like a lot of these people that say this. In fact, a lot of these people are friends of mine. Right. So, maybe not talk to everyday friends, but they are people I have talked to before. So I don't say anything mean. Right. I don't get involved. It just upsets me because it's just like, it's very short-sighted. Yes. And, people, unfortunately, in the days of fake news, has become a buzzword. Everybody thinks everything is a work. Right. It's, I was a pro wrestler. I got beat the hell up continuously. You don't use blood packets and you don't pull your punches like people think. Right. Predetermined is a lot different than fake. Yes. And using in the paranormal field, elevating your performance or whatever. Now, I will say that they find evidence. Right. And maybe their reaction wasn't what the producers were looking for. Right. So they shoot that reaction again. Right. Okay. But that doesn't mean they fake the evidence. No, the evidence is real. And I disagree with the reaction part. Okay. I do. I disagree with that. That's wrong. I know it happens. Right. I think that's wrong. Can we get that shot again? Can you be a little bit more upset? Why weren't you upset enough? Right. I think that probably there was a reason they weren't upset. Maybe they're being a little possessed. I don't know. Right. Go with it, dude. It's paranormal, right? But I think everything should be authentic. I will say that. So I don't agree with a lot of the ways the shows are done. But the evidence, I believe, is the evidence. I believe that people get theatrical, overly theatrical. Yes, sometimes. Very overly theatrical. And we're all thinking the same people right now. Right, right. But I do not believe that they fake evidence. No, I don't think so. And just for the reason that, if you were to be found faking evidence, that would be it. Yeah. I mean, there would be no point to it. You'd be done forever. Yeah, there would be. It's too much of a risk. And it's just my opinion, but it's also hard when you're doing it with guest investigators. Because if you fake it in front of someone you're with 1 week, right? It's that's not going to spread. What prevents them from going and telling everyone? Right. Right. That no, this place isn't really haunted, and that happens sometimes. It does, but different people get different results. And I believe it has a lot to do with our physiology. I have a feeling it has a lot to do with our auras. And I believe that Stacey can walk in a room and get completely different levels of interaction than I can. Sometimes Stacey gets all the evidence. Sometimes I get all the evidence. Yeah, it just really depends. It depends. So it's just such an open field, and there is no experts, and there is no solid theories. Right. I mean, there's good theories, but there's nothing that's just proven theory. Well, right. That's part of the fun. Exactly. But anyway. All right. Well, let's move on. Let me move my soapbox here. Okay, I'm down. All right. So this is not really a story, just something I wanted to mention because I thought it was kind of cool. They are actually having a UFO convention at the Devil's Tower, which is that place that was in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He made the potato sculpture of the thing. Awesome. And it's an 800-foot tall tower, which is actually the fossilized core of an ancient volcano. And, everybody remembers it from that movie, if you've seen the movie. But they decided that they were going to have the first annual Devil's Tower UFO Rendezvous is what they called it. It's this huge thing. It's not just a conference. It's like a parade and a costume contest and a barbecue and music and prizes and lots of fun, but that's happening this weekend. So if you happen to be in that area in Wyoming, if you are near there, go check it out. I'll be curious to see how that goes. I'll follow up on it. If you're in Wyoming and you listen to the show, give me a message. Okay. Just curious how many Wyoming listeners there are out there. We have a ton of listeners from all over the world. I love listening to, you know, I don't think I've ever had anybody from Wyoming send me a message.
No, I don't think we've ever gotten a message.
No,
from Wyoming.
I've seen listeners on the results from Wyoming.
Yeah, I
but
mean, we
it's
get
few and far
downloads
between.
there. Yeah. So.
We're going to have to work on Wyoming.
All right. So this story was just kind of cute. It's about the college football coach from Washington State. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but he does like press conferences and stuff on Mondays.
Yeah.
And at the end of the press conferences, normally he does a student question of the week and he'll just answer it. Right. So this last one he did, a student asked about supernatural life forms, asked if he thought that Bigfoot existed and what he thought about aliens.
Good place to ask about Bigfoot.
So, yeah, exactly. So he actually the coach actually gave like a 5-minute monologue about Bigfoot and about aliens and his thoughts on both of those things.
What was his thoughts?
Well, he said that he would really like for Bigfoot to be real, but he doesn't think. He's like, I hope there's a Bigfoot, but I don't think that there is. And he cited the whole "we've never found bones" argument, which is a valid argument, I suppose.
It's a very valid argument.
And he said that he does think that there are probably aliens in the universe, that he didn't think that, you know, it was silly to think that we were special enough to be the only ones.
So it was the safe answer on both.
Basically. And he made sure to mention that he did take the biblical approach to the alien question and stuff, but he did answer the question, and there's a video, I'll link to it. It's like 5 minutes. He's very entertaining to listen to. It was nice of him to actually answer.
You know, when I walk down, there's been millions of humans die.
Right.
And when I walk down the street, I don't see bones just laying about. If they had been buried and not in a coffin, I probably wouldn't find that many bones, you know, really. The one thing I will say about this is there very well could be bones found, and they're in the Smithsonian.
That's very true.
And we'll never hear about it. And the records of it are in the Vatican Library.
Yeah, that you can't ask for.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have like an archivist degree.
Yeah, something crazy.
Which nobody has. And to get, I mean, there's levels and levels and levels and levels of hoopla.
You have to like bring your firstborn child.
So there's 50
blood sample.
There's 50 some miles. Just let's put this in context. There's 50 odd miles of books or scrolls,
shelving,
manuscripts, shelving in the Vatican Library.
Right.
In order to go there, let's say Stacey gets approved to go there. You went to college. Maybe they'll let accountants in there. So you go in, you get approved.
Right.
It's got to be a very specific thing you're looking for.
Right. You have to tell them what you have to tell them
what you're wanting to look at. So if you tell them what you're wanting to look at, it has to have existed. Like, I mean, you have to know or have knowledge it's there.
Right.
So that has nothing to do with everything that's there that we don't know about.
Yeah.
When you go in there,
there's no perusing the Vatican Library.
Right. That's one of the strictly forbidden things. So when you go in there, if you start looking at it and it's not what you were looking for, you have to leave. And you can't go look at another book or another section. They make you leave until the next day.
So crazy.
So it could be 5 minutes you're in there.
Right.
And you're looking at the wrong thing, but you have to leave and come back the next day and try again. And they don't let you browse. There is absolutely no browsing.
No browsing.
Okay, no browsing whatsoever. So my question.
Right.
What is in there? I mean, I know everybody that listens to the show thinks about that, but what is in there? I mean, the Library of Alexandria was burned down, and I watched a great video on it. And when I hear it, it reignites that spark that makes me love this world so much and the mysteries, like the million-year-old footprints. Because the Library of Alexandria, let's just say, you know, around 40, 58 BC, whenever it was burned down by Caesar or whatever. So it was burned down. And at the time, it was a functioning, basically like a college.
Right.
For like 700 years. for 700 years. So imagine that. That's like a university that we go by today. Maybe like
I found this on the web for what is it was.
Maybe like an Oxford or some. Holy cow, that scared the crap out of me.
Siri wanted in on the show.
Okay,
How did that even come on?
Okay, so listen, I'm not touching my phone whatsoever.
No.
And I've got my phone here because sometimes we have to look up information. And Siri, for the first time ever, just started looking up the Vatican Library.
Did you say something that sounded like Siri?
I don't think I did.
I don't think you did.
That is weird, and I'm going to leave this in the show.
Okay, yeah, I will.
Because that's weird.
That scared me to death.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second about the iPhones. But so I mean, it's just one of those things, like the level of, because if they had the library, they had everything. They used to collect every piece of information they could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so people just theorize what was actually there in that library.
Yeah.
They have no idea. But just imagine 2,000 years ago, we can barely tell you anything about 2,000 years ago. But the only thing we can really tell you about 2,000 years ago really is a lot of biblical stuff and
Right.
not much at all, right?
Right.
Because we have a hard time telling you about 400 years ago, much less 2,000. So imagine what they had that they had been collecting for 700 years.
I can't imagine.
So the Vatican Library, I just want to know, like, why do we still keep things from the public? You know, if it's that lock and key, that cloak and dagger, it has to be something that would damage
You would think so.
the church.
Do you think anybody's ever gone in and asked for something on the off chance they were going to get it? Like they didn't really know it was down there, but you think they went in and were like,
I don't know.
"Can I see the file on the aliens, please?" You know, something like that.
I almost want to apply and apply like every day for the rest of my life. So, you know, like in 40 years or something, they're just like, you know what?
That guy's getting ready to die anyway. Let's just let him in.
Let's let him in, or it becomes a news story. Like he's applied every day for 40 years, you know? And they're just like, okay, look.
With your luck, they're going to be like, yes, you can come next week. And we're going to be like, how are we going to get to Rome? And like,
no, I would
days.
go. Are you kidding? I would sell the house. I mean, it was to go to Rome and look in the
Vatican Library.
In the Vatican, that's it. You know what? I would almost take the bullet. Like, all right, I just want to know.
Let me read it, and then
just,
you can.
just let me know. So speaking of the end of the world, the iPhone X, which they don't want you to call it the iPhone X, so it's all I will ever call it. I love iPhones, except when they listen to me and bring up Vatican Library things.
That's weird.
But I've always had the iPhone since the first iPhone, and I've never went away from it. I've never cheated on it. I've never went to some other. I love Apple. I love iPhones. I'm addicted, and they've already brainwashed me. So I always excited this time of year because every year I get the new one.
Right.
All right, I don't care how much it puts us behind. We don't eat for a couple of weeks, whatever. I get the new one every year. I'm a sucker. And so really excited about the new ones coming out. So I said, the iPhone 8 is coming out and then iPhone 10. I don't understand how this works.
I don't either because the 8 and 8S is coming out soon. And then the iPhone 10 is coming out a little bit later. But it's like they just like screw 9. We're not even doing a 9. We're just going to do the 8 and then
it's got to make
10.
you wonder about the 9, don't it?
Yeah. Like what happened with that?
So the iPhone 10 it is completely a reimagining. It's probably got the most new features I've ever seen. Like it's amazing for what I use it for, like vlogging and photos and things like that.
Really cool.
It's amazing for that.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
The thing I don't like, the thing that creeps me out, is it's no longer I'm still creeped out about putting my thumb on there to unlock my phone.
Right.
Just from the conspiracy watch kind of stuff I am.
Right.
And here I am putting my thumb on things, but I'm the guy who always said, I'll take the microchip, just put it on me. It's fine. It's because they kill you last, when you agree.
Right.
So the facial recognition, it's got an IR camera on the front of it.
Yeah.
So it's basically like the Xbox.
Like the Kinect thing.
Like the Kinect.
Yeah, because there's no home button on it. It just unlocks by you looking at it.
You open your eyes and it unlocks. That's its feature.
Yes.
Now, just for a second, imagine Stacey from 2000. Stacey from 17 years ago, from the year 2000, was handed that. I mean, it would have blown you away. I mean, back when we were trying to, do you remember when you wanted what was it, a PDA? What was the little?
It was a phone. It was a Dare. And I think it was called Dare. It was touchscreen. Like, it was the first time I ever got a touchscreen phone. I was like, that's so cool. I want that.
But even before that, you wanted the little personal organizer. You wanted that. You worked at a bank and you were like, oh, that'd be so great. Just imagine how far we've come. And just in even 15 years, in 10 years. So my thoughts are, where do we go in 15 years from now?
Oh, there's no telling.
Is it just
it's just escalating so quickly.
Yeah. Is it just a thought that comes and all of a sudden?
I guess they just implant the phone directly into your brain.
Yeah.
At that point.
I mean, wow. It's just really that kind of stuff, because no other time in the history of mankind have we evolved at such a fast rate, or devolved.
It's crazy.
As far as our skills go, I feel like we're getting dumbed down a little bit with all this,
because all the technology.
We were in a place investigating today, and we were looking through these old manuscripts, and it was really creepy to me, because Stacey was talking about, she was like, look at this handwriting, and it was stuff from the 1700s, 1800s. And Stacey's like, look how beautiful this handwriting is. And everything's in logs. Every day they had to log everything in. And they
had to write it by hand.
Yeah, they had to write it and do all their own math. And it got me thinking, wow, handwriting's going to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Well, yeah. I mean, even when I homeschool with Ari, I teach her cursive and stuff, but she doesn't want to use that. She wants to do all her assignments on the computer, and all of her assignments are geared for that.
Yeah.
Like they bring up the word processor and they're like, type all this in, and she's much faster typing her assignments than actually doing. I have to make her do the handwriting.
So when it all goes away, we're all just using computers, and then the actual solar ray hits. We don't have any history. It's all like, wait, they had history up to this point, and then there's a big gap.
Yeah, exactly.
Until they learned a new alphabet. I mean, anyway.
Until they remembered how to write.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on. I got a few more stories here. This one was just a cute story that I saw, and I wasn't going to do it, but then I found the second story that was kind of similar. So this is the story about the little girl that found the sword.
Oh yeah, this is
in
so
the pond. It's so cute. She's just a little schoolgirl that was on a little holiday with her family, and they were at the little pond. What's it called? Dosemary Pool. And
when you talk about cute things, you say the word little like so much. It's like your cute word. You're like, we're going to take a little afternoon romp, and we're going to look at this little store, and we're going to have a little snack.
Little is cute.
Yeah, it's just cute. It's cute. Continue on with your little story.
All right. So the girl was 7 years old. See, she was little.
Aww.
And they were at the spot where King Arthur supposedly returned Excalibur into the
watery
lady.
tart.
Yes, to the Lady of the Lake. And as a matter of fact, her father was telling the story because they were at that location, and they were having a good time.
Telling that story or telling the Monty Python story?
Probably the Monty Python story. I don't know. So it was really hot. And so she decided she wanted to go wading into the water. And so she was about waist high, and she was like, I see a sword. And her dad was like, no, it's probably just a stick or something. But then she pulled it out, and there's a 4-foot sword.
That's freaking cool.
In the water.
That's so freaking awesome.
And it was like as tall as she was.
Yeah.
And so they let her keep it. I mean, her dad figures it's probably some kind of movie prop, or somebody was, because of the whole King Arthur thing. But how awkward is that? I mean, that you find a sword in the pond where supposedly King Arthur threw Excalibur.
I would, by right, currently be ruling the world. I would be like, look, I found it.
So
it's
this
here.
makes me king. So
yeah,
just saying.
It's a great form of government. No, honestly, you know what would happen to us? We would be there, and I would have told Ariana the sweet story, the little story, sorry.
Yes.
And she would have been all happy, and she would have went wading in the water, and we would have been all smiling and taking pictures for Instagram.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Ari'd be screaming bloody murder because her foot just got cut off.
Because of the sword.
That's our luck.
That's assuming that she would actually put her feet in the
In the
water
nasty
in
water.
the first place. Yes. She's so funny. Okay, so this other story I have is actually about a hunter that found an 1,100-year-old Viking sword at the top of a Norwegian mountain.
Oh, wow. Now that's a
Yeah.
cool story.
And it was actually incredibly well preserved Viking sword. There wasn't anything, like really spectacular about it. It was just a normal
Did they find any Viking bones
Viking
there?
sword. They did not. The hunter found it, and he took it to this archaeological, place where they could look at it.
Right.
He took some people back with him with metal detectors to see if they could find some other items. They didn't find anything else. They thought what was so strange about it is where it was found on top of this mountain. Like they couldn't understand why a Viking would be at the top of this mountain and leave his sword behind.
And where was this at?
In Norway.
Okay.
But what I guess they've kind of theorized is maybe he got lost or died or something.
Or
on the
he was a
mountain.
really early version of David Paulides' stories. It's like
And-
missing 411
Well, they feel like
Vikings.
because the sword was so well preserved that it was actually encased in ice, and because of the climate change and the fact that the ice has been melting, it's now, these things are coming out. And so the hunter was up there hunting reindeer, and it was just laying there. And it's top of a mountain. People don't really go up there a lot.
I would have killed the reindeer with the sword.
Nobody-
I would have took that as a sign. I would have come down the hill with a Viking sword and a reindeer.
Well, it's still a bit of a mystery because, they said it seemed like it belonged to a Viking that possibly died, maybe from exposure or something. But why would he be traveling up there with just the sword and no other? Like they didn't find any other, items.
Either it's one of the most special things ever, and there's a lot more to it, or it's so cursed. The sword is a very cursed sword that brought a lot of, maybe they lost a battle,
Right.
or several battles, and they were like, you know what, we need to put this somewhere where no one will ever find it.
Right. And they took it to the top of the mountain.
And then if they do find it, there'll be Category 4 hurricanes, there'll be sun flares, there'll be earthquakes. We don't have to worry about it. That can never happen. It'll ice over.
True. Well, one of the men that sort of studied the sword said that one of the reasons it was preserved so well was because Vikings made excellent iron, excellent weapons. And he actually said that the sword was found in these small loose stones, not soil, and that's another reason why it was preserved really well. And that it did snow and ice over it, every year because on top of a mountain. But that's really cool. I think they put it on display.
I love Viking movies where they use half realistic language and half English. Sorry, I just was thinking about the last three that I've watched.
Yes.
It's like starts out and then throws in the common word.
I always like it when we start watching a movie and Ari really, really wants to watch it, but then she realizes it's a foreign movie and she's got to read the whole thing. So she kind of just drifts off after a while.
We watch a lot of foreign movies.
Yeah.
We're huge fans. Like if we're sitting around and there's like 4 blockbusters that just came out, and then there's the one import that's currently still in theaters in France or Norway or
Right.
we definitely love the ones like the Norwegian films, unless it's like a freaking Norwegian Santa Claus film, which is just that's what Jack Frost was, right? The one Mystery Science did.
I think so, yes.
God, that was weird, man.
It was very
If
unusual.
you've never watched it, go find the old Jack Frost movie on Mystery Science Theater 3000 and then get me an autograph from Joel and the crew at Scarefest.
Hint, hint. Okay, so I have 2 more stories. This first one is very strange, and this is about the strange death of a dozen wild monkeys in India.
Oh my God.
Okay, so there's a video that you can watch,
12 monkeys?
12 monkeys, where they're showing these people cleaning up these monkeys in this forest. So they went in and they just saw a dozen monkeys, and they were all dead on the forest floor. So
It's horrible.
at first, the residents thought that they had been poisoned. So they kind of gathered them up and they
Do you think
took
it was like a
them.
monkey cult?
I have no idea. Yeah, like an end of the world
Yeah.
called, oh, it's the end of time.
They're like
And
all,
just
were they wearing the same tennis shoes
drinking
or
the Kool-Aid.
drinking some weird kind of, banana pee or something?
So they took them to a wildlife expert who studied them, said they were not poisoned, that the post-mortem examination produced the result that they all had heart attacks, seemingly at the same time.
Mom
They
said, what?
all died from having a heart attack, 12 monkeys. And, but they couldn't figure out
Why did we not lead off with
why
this?
they would all drop dead from cardiac arrest.
I mean,
I like to put the ones that I think we're going to talk about a lot at the end. I didn't realize we were going to talk about every story a lot.
okay, all right.
Because that's not our normal format.
So, has anybody checked on the whereabouts of Peter Gabriel? We do know that he likes to shock the monkey.
Yeah, I don't think that was it.
Sorry.
But so one theory is because there was some tiger paw prints in the area. One theory is that
They all died of a heart attack.
that a tiger roared and they all had a heart attack at the same time and died, which is just ridiculous.
Granted, I would, but
Right.
why would a monkey? Because a monkey can be in a tree.
Yeah, well, they hear that kind of stuff all the time and they just scatter. Why would they all have heart attacks?
Like the
I mean,
hyper-
really, all of them.
The hyper anxiety ridden monkey clan.
It's all one family. It
Yeah.
kind of runs in the family. A lot of other wildlife experts disagree with that.
Gladly.
That a monkey wouldn't be shaken by something like that, and they said that maybe it was some kind of infection, some kind of virus, but that still doesn't explain why they would all die at the exact same time. It's like seemingly in a few minutes of each other.
Unless it's the cult of the 12 monkeys and
It's very strange. I thought it was weird there were 12 monkeys.
be looking for Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis.
Some people online suggested that they fell victim to a lightning strike, but I think that you would know if a bunch of monkeys got struck by lightning because they'd be singed,
Yeah, it looks like there'd be
In
like
some way.
some kind of burn somewhere.
if you shocked them.
Shock the monkey.
But this is, it's really strange.
If anybody can explain this story to me, please do, or explain the Peter Gabriel song as well.
That is quite the mystery too, isn't it?
It is. So that's a really strange story. I
I
mean,
think so. And at first I thought it was just a joke. Like at first I thought the story was a joke, but there is a video and they're showing the monkeys and they're showing them pick them up. And, it's just really weird.
what could that be?
I honestly don't have any idea.
That's,
If it was one or two, that would be different. But we're talking about 12.
were they mutilated in any way?
No, because their first thought was that they were poisoned. So
My
there was
first
no,
thought's UFOs.
There's no,
Always.
yeah, that could have been it. But the residents thought they were poisoned. So there obviously weren't any wounds because if they had seen like marks or
They would have known. It wouldn't
they
even be a
would've-
story.
Yeah, they would have thought, oh, well, something killed these monkeys. But, there was nothing. They were just dead on the ground.
That's bananas.
Oh, okay. That was low.
What?
Bananas. You
Oh,
mentioned bananas and a
I wasn't
monkey's story.
joking.
All right,
Anyway, it's
so-
very strange, and
It is very strange.
put that one on your update list.
Okay, I will put that one on the update list. I will check back. I dare say we won't hear anything else about it, especially if it was a UFO. All right, so last story, and I love this story because it's a phenomenon that we know about.
Okay.
So this is about a place in Australia. It is a haunted location. It's an old abbey.
I know all about Australia. It's killer bunnies.
It's a place where a Welsh king was at once. I don't know the whole
I
history
know
of
about
the
Welsh
abbey.
kings too.
Yes, well, I don't know the whole history of the
Come
abbey.
straight from them, people.
The point of the story is that this abbey got a letter in the mail from a fan who had been there for a visit and stole a piece of the abbey, took a rock
Oh my god.
from the abbey and took it home. You see where this is going?
You
So then
bloody fool.
they mailed it back with a letter, an anonymous letter saying that they had been an avid follower of Welsh kings and their history. And there was a king there named Llewellyn.
Oh, cool name.
Yeah. And he said that ever since he took that rock home, that he had the most awful luck and that he felt like the spirit of Llewellyn was angry with him and bad things were happening and he just wanted them to have it back.
Yeah.
Like he immediately just sent it back. And so they got the stone, they put it in like their little museum, you know, with the letter, because they thought it was really funny that he took it and then
it's
instantly was haunted.
It's like a scarecrow for people too.
Right. Well, I thought this story was really cool because we've heard of this before.
A million times.
Yeah. And I know one place is Waverly, because she told us about how people would take bricks and things like that from Waverly, but then she would get packages where they would send them back and be like, I don't want this. I'm being haunted because I took this.
Almost every haunted location that I've ever been to has given me a story similar to that. And it's always been, you know, and I think it's because there's a lot of energy that goes into the theft. I think that when you're doing the theft, you're not doing it like, you know, just on happenstance. You're not just like picking up the rock because, oh, I'm going to take this rock home. That'd be cool.
Right. It's not like you're just picking up a pebble off the ground.
It's almost like premeditated. Normally, like, I'm going to go, you know, when we go, we should take a memento.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's usually when you find out the paranormal's real. My theory to that, I do have a theory to that. My theory to that is that you take the rock, and that is somewhat of a portal, or it's some way for them to attach, because you're taking,
it's part of the building.
You're taking a piece of that building willfully. You know, so if I was a ghost and I was following you around Waverly,
right,
and you know, I was like, hey, help, hey. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Help me. Get out. Can you help me?
Right.
If I was doing that, if I seen you pick something up, say, I'm going to take this home, I'd be like, oh, loophole. And, you know,
you'd be like grabbing on that little piece of rock. Yeah.
Going right with it. I don't know. That's really
so
very interesting.
I thought it was a really cool story. I know that another really famous one is that place in California, Bodie, California. It's like the ghost town or whatever, the official ghost town of California. They get stuff like all the time because their stuff's supposed to be cursed. Like if you take it, you're like, cursed. And so they get letters all the time with little pieces of stuff that people took and things like that. So,
all right. So that's your news. Thank you so much. You want to say that's all?
That is all my news.
Awesome. And now I'll pause and go, okay, well, thanks a whole lot for that. That was a great session of news this time. And I had fun talking about all the stories.
Right.
This actually has been a great episode there, Mr. Jimmy Peterson. Hope you're still with us on this, because this has been...
I mean, you actually like super elaborated on every story.
I think this has been a very fun episode. Yes. And I actually had a little special thing planned here for our listeners.
Oh, did you?
Here for the end of the show.
Oh, I love it when you spring surprises on me like that.
Well, this is a surprise for you. It's a surprise for everybody. Okay, so I have a lot of theories. And, you know, I'm hopefully making Mr. John Tenney proud. But I have a ton of theories. I wrote a whole book consisting of my theories.
Yes.
The book has not been released yet, but it is written completely, 100%. And I have names for my theories. I would rather my theories not really be, you know, kept in the dark.
Right.
Would like a little credit, you know, like, hey, this is John's theory. This, you know,
right.
I don't want any money. Just say, hey, I heard this from John. But I've been working on one recently, and it's been really getting legs. And I love when they start getting legs,
right? Because
I'm going to work on it in a controlled situation. And the problem with this theory is I don't have a name for it.
Ah, I see.
So if somebody out there wants to help me name the theory, I will definitely, it will be our theory.
There you go.
From now on.
Okay.
And you can even help me, you know, get this one going.
Okay.
So something that's been happening to me for years. I've been investigating the paranormal for 20 legitimate years. When it first happened to us, we used reel-to-reel recorders. We used, you know, regular big cassette tapes and all this stuff and fun stuff like that, flashlights and a notebook. But over the years, really got hot and heavy for the last 15 years. You know, with investigating and especially specializing in audio. I don't like video as much as Stacey. Stacey usually videos all my audio sessions. So she can have the ultimate proof because she's that way for me, and it's good, very good. Because, you know, as I said it earlier tonight, I was telling someone about it, and I said, when you stand in a room and there's a demon baby running around the room cackling, you don't really need a whole lot of proof after that, but with some of the stuff I've seen and heard, I'm not as thorough with the scientific method as Stacey is, but there has been this phenomenon happening the whole entire time, and it's bothering me. So the other night I had a breakthrough with it, and it was just organic. It just organically happened. And I have to thank my girls, because they were paying attention to a video that I was playing that I wasn't paying attention to. And if you hang out with me for a night, any given night, that night is not spent watching network TV.
Nope.
That night is spent watching random YouTube videos of people and their experiences.
Right.
I enjoy hearing other people's theories. I especially specialize ancient Egypt stuff and, everything, cryptozoology,
super random
ufology.
stuff. Like if somebody went through your history, they'd be like, what? I mean, YouTube doesn't even know what to recommend for you anymore.
No.
I mean, it's like, it's so much stuff.
No, it's like they just say the wiggles, but one of these theories has been audio related, and it's really strange. So stick with me here. For years, I'll be listening to audio clips or reviewing a whole place, and I'll record for an hour in a session, and I'll put myself, when I'm doing that, in that situation, so I can see, hear, I can almost smell that room and remember what was happening step by step. And I know Stacey's sniffs, and I know we tag everything that we can, but still yet stomach gurgles, all that stuff. But sometimes when I'm talking or she's talking or another investigator we're with is talking, I will get a word. I'll get a sentence, and I'll be like, holy cow, listen to this. And she'll hear it too, and of course a lot of that could be suggestion, but she'll hear it too. And it will be relevant to the conversation. That's the big deal. So if I'm asking a question and we start talking, we don't know if we have an answer or not.
Right.
And then I get, yes, I ate some bread, but it was actually, Stacey saying something about crayons.
Yeah. Well,
And-
we used to make jokes all the time that you're going to get the best EVPs when you're talking.
Right.
When you're actually just talking and you aren't paying attention or you're not being quiet.
Right.
That's when you're going to get that really good EVP.
Right.
Like it was a joke.
But that's just regular EVPs, and that is true. When you're not trying and you're recording, you're going to get stuff like every time we were ever joking around, we were eating our snacks. That's when we got you're a mother, blah blah in hell. So, but we listen to all that, and the theory here though is they are manipulating our own vocals to form words and communicate. And trust me, I never wanted to say that out loud because Stacey will not allow me to use that as evidence. And I agree. She's like, look, regardless of whether or not that's saying a word, we're based solely on our evidence. So we cannot use that. And this has happened several times. And there's been slight arguments. Our arguments are like, don't use that. And I'm like, okay. But still yet, I do bring them to her because she has to approve. That's how we work. I find it. She listens. If we agree, it's presented. And she's very strict. But a lot of times I get these words and relevant responses, but it's like they're manipulating what we are saying. So it was really bothering me. Recently, we did an investigation just a week ago, and I got like 3 or 4 of these, and it had been a while. It had been a minute since that had happened, and I'm like, who's to say what they can do and what they can't do?
Right.
Because they can do some crazy things. So why couldn't they manipulate what the energy we're using to make that? Well, just so happens I played a video because I have trouble sleeping, and this video was this guy. It was like one of those TED Talk things or something, and he was explaining how to exercises he uses and that you should use if you want to fall asleep faster.
Right. And
it was using vowel sounds. And like
Yeah, kind of like when you would meditate or something.
Right.
Like, yeah, like oh and all that.
like meditation using vowel sounds, and it was like oh, whatever. I'm sure we can find this video, but I wasn't paying attention to the video. I was playing it, and then I drifted off somewhere. Well, the girls obviously paid attention. About an hour later, I'm talking about this theory, and I'm like, I can't figure it out. I don't know. I don't want to bring this one out. Usually I write down my theories and put them somewhere. I don't want to use this. And they were like, well, that video we watched earlier about the guy and the sleeping, his whole thing was the reason that you do the ah and the oh and the vowel sounds is because that creates
White noise.
And that's what he said on the video.
That was the term he used. I thought that was pretty unusual.
It was. So if that is a form of white noise, and we're talking, and we do believe that spirits can use and manipulate white noise to give us responses,
right?
I believe that we're onto something.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's a huge maybe.
Yeah, but that's how theories work. You kind of have to test them out, and
So I just wanted to start that and throw that out there. I know I've got some incredible experts that listen, and I really appreciate sharing thoughts and sharing ideas. And a long time ago, that was what we did almost weekly was throw out a lot of ideas and share the ideas. It's been a while since I've thrown out a theory on here, and I just wanted to throw that out there so you guys can take it and run with it. If you have some thoughts on that, if you think,
or if you're like audio heavy like we are, and you've heard that particular
absolutely
thing, yeah, let it share that with us. Like, let us know what your experience was with that, because it can't just be us.
Yeah,
that can't just be us that catches that.
And if you think that it's just pareidolia, let us know. If you think that's what's going on, you think it's just our mind creating words because out of something that
I know that is a good reason, but I hate that everything falls to that.
Yeah,
like that seems to be like the catch-all excuse for everything.
Unfortunately, scientifically speaking, if water's dripping,
right,
it's water dripping,
right,
and you're so right about that every time you've brought that up. But and it's funny because it's almost like we're taking the opposite approach right now talking about this. But we do throw so much out. We throw it out, and we make sure that it's very strict conditions on things. But I would like to know if anybody's had that happen to you, and let us know your thoughts on that. But other than that, ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go find out everything audio. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. There's a little bit of audio there. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. Let us have all your audio fun. Instagram, Hot Audio Dam. It's John and Stacey Edwards. On YouTube, it's YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That's where you see the greatest paranormal vlog of all time. And it's called Till Death, and it's on our show. And however you are listening right now, please share it with your friends and your neighbors and your enemies as well. It's on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, however you listen, that's where we hide. And on the YouTube, please subscribe, share, enjoy, tell everyone you know. Toss it around the office, toss it around the neighborhood, around the school. And if you're tossing around the school, don't let the teacher see it because we might get phone calls at that point. But for all that, we've had a fun episode. We love you guys. We'll see you on the vlog, and we'll listen with you next week or talk to you while you listen or something like that. If you made it this far, forgive me for that.